Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. My name is Richard Talbot. I'm glad you joined me again today on lesson two, frankly, of what it means to be a leader. Today, we're going to talk about leadership as influencing others. I'm glad to have you there with me. And this is my second blab, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to being on here with you and sharing with you. Just like before, I am hidden away in my little private lair somewhere on the East Coast of the United States of America. I'm not going to say exactly where. However, like I said last week, they're known as Tar Heels around here, and it's raining right now, kind of cold. They're even expecting snow. For those of you in the desert and the warm areas, I just moved here a couple of years ago from Arizona. Snow is the white stuff that kind of comes down and it just kind of does things to you. So it makes things cold, makes things look Christmassy and wintry. And even though Christmas is long gone, I know not even 25 days ago, but even though Christmas is long gone, I have a feeling by Sunday, Monday, it's going to look kind of Christmassy around here for a change instead of in the 70s and 60s like it was at real Christmas time. Thanks again for joining me. I am so glad that you are here and watching. I hope that you enjoy this and get something out of it. And please do call in and ask questions. Let's have a conversation. I don't want to sit here for the next hour or so and just lecture. I can talk and I can talk and I can talk. But that's not really what this is all about. This is a chance for us to kind of share, interact with one another, and just enjoy what it means to be an influence and to help others improve where they are and who they are. Like before, I have my coffee, and so I am not addicted to coffee. I can give it up anytime I want to. I just choose not to. So I'll be drinking my coffee throughout this, staying warm, staying dry, and sharing with you the law of influence. This is a part of the book of 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. I am a certified John Maxwell trainer. I am a business and leadership coach, trainer, and public speaker. And I have trained internationally. I have been to the Philippines. I have trained online with people in India, England, Canada, the United States. I've been face-to-face with people in the United States and other places. And this is something that I really enjoy and really what I do. I like to focus on. Influence is really what the true measure of leadership is all about. If you really want to be a leader and you want to consider yourself a leader, then you have to look at influence. True measure of leadership is influencing, nothing more, nothing less. If you influence anybody in your life, whether it's your coworkers, your boss, your people that report to you, your family, your friends, if you're part of a place of faith, wherever you're at, if you are influencing someone, you are a leader. So then the next question needs to be, what kind of a leader are you? Are you a positive leader or a negative leader? Are you building others up or are you trying to build yourself up? And that's really what leadership is about. Leadership is nothing more than nothing less than influencing people to become the best that they can be. Leadership is about helping others to achieve what they think they cannot achieve. Leadership is about helping others become more than they are, more than they thought they could be, and standing beside them, encouraging them to become all that they can be. That's what we're talking about today, is influence and leadership. Leadership doesn't depend on a lot of different things, and we're going to talk about some of those things as well today. But I hope that today you get an idea of what influence is, what leadership is, and you find ways to start applying it in your life as you go along. So let's talk about this. Just remember one thing. The person who thinks he's leading and no one is following him is only taking a walk. The person that is leading and thinks someone is following and no one is really only taking a walk. Mark Twain paraphrased it. He said, golf is a good walk spoiled. And sometimes we like to go for a walk and we think others are coming with us. In reality, they're standing back watching us go. Leadership, influence is bringing people with us as we move along, taking people beside us, alongside us, and together journeying towards something that's better. Now, there's a lot of myths when it comes to leadership. For instance, one is called the management myth. Just because you have a job title, people think that, you can lead people. We all know people that we've worked with, maybe we've hired, that maybe were the best salespeople that you've ever known. They could sell ice cubes to a Eskimo. But when you put them in a position, all of a sudden now their team seems to struggle. Just because you're in a position of leadership doesn't mean you are a leader. The position does not make you. The person makes the management position. Management is really nothing more than managing people and systems and tools, keeping the day-to-day things going. That's not leadership. That's caretaking. That's maintenance. Another myth of leadership is being an entrepreneur. Good coffee. An entrepreneur. Someone like a Steve Jobs or you can name them. Anyone who has kind of stepped out and created their own world. An entrepreneur may not necessarily be a leader. Think about that for a second. An entrepreneur can see the big picture, can really look at the world around them and see opportunities, see ways to improve the world. But that doesn't mean they can actually deal with people and lead people. How many times have you heard of a person that started a company and it's grown up to a certain level, and then all of a sudden the management team asks them to step aside so that the business can continue to grow? They were the entrepreneur, they were the founder, they were the person who had the original vision and goal. However, because of their inability to lead people, to influence them in a positive way, the company decided it needed someone else to take charge. Flying Angel. I'm sorry that my English is kind of weird. I speak kind of high, kind of low sometimes. So if you can hang in there and pick up some things every now and then, I'd love to have you stick around. And thanks for joining. Also, Hillary, Imado01, thank you for joining as well. Glad to have you all on board. And thanks for being here. Another myth about leadership is knowledge. You've ever heard the saying, knowledge is power. Yeah, in some ways it is. However, if that's the case, then people in like universities, these people with PhDs, people with an unbelievable amount of knowledge should be leading. They should be influencing others. But how often, though, do you find people with that type of a knowledge really have no common sense? I had a roommate in college, and he was the smartest man I'd ever met. Unbelievable intelligence. I think he had a double major, I want to say in biology and chemistry, or biology and computers. Now, this is back when computers were, operated by squirrels in cages, and they had to, keep them running so that the computer would work, type of thing. And that the computer would take the full room. This is way back in the dark ages, I know. He was the smartest man I'd ever met by at that time, and really up until now. Intellectually, none could beat him. But he had no common sense. He had no ability to strongly influence others. He was in his own world, which he had to be to study and to become, to pass and get the degrees that he got. But that's not what leadership is. It's not just knowledge. It's the ability to implement that knowledge in other people, to plant that knowledge seed, so to speak, and let it water and grow. And that's what it's about. Then you have the pioneer myth, someone who's way out on the edge, the cutting edge of societal evolution, as one famous TV commentator, or excuse me, radio commentator puts it on a regular basis. Way out there. In fact, they're out there so far you can barely see them and no one's following them. They're off on their walk. They're doing their thing. They're plowing new ground, but they're not planting anything behind it. They're just kind of digging up the soil. Other people are going to come along and take some of their ideas and concepts and their vision and move it to a deeper place, maybe a place of actual practical use and knowledge, that type of thing. So being a pioneer doesn't make you a leader. Having all this knowledge doesn't make you a leader. Being an entrepreneur doesn't make you a leader. Having a management position or title doesn't make you a leader. What makes you a leader is how you influence and touch others. So let me ask the first question for the day. How are you touching others? Hi, 799. Glad to have you on. Thanks for joining. How are you touching others? Or are you? Are you just going through life in your own bubble? Self-focused, self-absorbed? Are you in a place where you're just not able or even aware enough to be able to move forward into a leadership role? There are a lot of factors that come with being a leader. And these are always a continuing process. If you think you've arrived, then you haven't. It's like the old saying, if you think you're humble, then you're not. If you think you're wise, then you're not. It's an ongoing process. You can have a goal of becoming more of a leader. You can have a goal of becoming more and experiencing more of these factors of leadership. And I think I want to encourage you to do that. That's why we're doing this blab. That's why I'm on, is to hopefully encourage people to grow in their leadership skills and become much more of an influencer in this world. So let's talk about some of those factors. There's 7 of them generally that impact what it means to be a leader. The first one is character. You thought it'd be something else, didn't you? Still, very good coffee. Character. People can sense truth and integrity in you and in me. If you think I'm sitting here just blowing smoke, you're not going to listen to me very much, if at all. You're not going to watch the replay. You're just going to move on. People without character, without a sense of truth and integrity, a sense of who they are, of authenticity within themselves, they become the real leaders. If you don't have that, if you play the game, and I'm not going to call anybody a politician, that I'm not going to be that mean to people, but if you are a politician or a businessman or a businesswoman, a housewife, a husband, a father, a mother, if you are a person who doesn't stand for some truth in your life, then you're not going to stand for anything and you're not going to be a leader. People want to know who you are. They want that integrity, that what you say you are, you are. I'm not perfect. I want to make that very clear. Nowhere close. And I doubt I ever will be perfect. And the day I think I am is the day I'm probably farthest away from it than ever. However, you got to have that consistency and that integrity within you. So the first factor of leadership is character. Who are you? Second aspect is your relationships. Who do you surround yourself with? What type of people do you hang around? Do they build you up Do they tear you down? Do they not challenge you? Do they push you? Do they pull on you, pull you back? I heard it saying once that if you take 5 of the people that you're closest to, 5, you are 1, the average of those 5. You're the average. And 2, you are the sum of those 5. You're the average and you're the sum. So I want you to think for a second, who are the 5 closest people that you're with? Who are the 5 people that influence your life the most? Who are the 5 people, maybe more, maybe less, that you surround yourself on a regular basis? In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's even on a daily basis. Who do you surround yourself with? Are you happy with that? Are you happy being the average of those 5? Are you happy being the sum of those 5? Surround yourself with people that will push you. If you're the smartest person in the room, one author put it, then you're in the wrong room. If you're the smartest person in the class, you're in the wrong class. You need to be in a place where you can learn and you can grow and you can be pushed. Now, if it was easy, everybody would do that. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not a place that people like to dwell and consider. But it's where you need to be, where we all need to be. I strive to surround myself with people that will push me and encourage me, challenge me, make me think, make me maintain my character, like I mentioned before. Look at my truth, look at my integrity, look at who I am. Do I like it? Not always. Not always. Is it necessary? Always. Always. So the first 2 factors of leadership are character. The second one is relationships. The third one is knowledge. Are you still learning? Are you still discovering new facts? Are you still doing homework? Are you reading? Too many people stop reading as soon as they get out of school, whether it's high school or college. They just stop reading. They stop learning. Don't. The world is huge. Even though things like Blab and Twitter and Facebook and the internet, all those things make the world feel small. It's not. It's a big, wide world out there. Hi, Ahmed. Glad to have you on. Are you learning? Are you studying? Are you learning facts and applying facts and those things in your life? Are you reading books that challenge your way of thinking and not just confirm what you think you already know? Are you reading books and listening to podcasts or people that make you look at yourself in a different way? Make you look at the world a different way? I'm not saying you always have to agree with everything that you're learning. I wouldn't dare say that. One of the things I think as humans that we have a unique ability, which is to think and to rationalize and to process within ourselves what it means to learn and to grow. So I encourage you to do that. But that means you have to study and you learn, you have to read, and you have to take time to do that. After knowledge, another factor is intuition. Your energy, your morals, your timing, your momentum, your feeling. What is it? Deep down inside, do you feel and think? What are your morals? What's your baseline that you will not compromise on? What is the idea of momentum and timing mean to you? Where are you going to go with that? Who are you? It goes back to the question with character, doesn't it? There's a direct correlation between character and your intuition. Your character should reflect your energy, your morals, what you feel. There should be a baseline of truth that you're willing to die for, to stand for, to fight for, to walk away, to stay with. Not everything has to be a battle. Sometimes you just have to walk away. So, what's your intuition telling you? Do you know it all already? Is your intuition telling you there's something more out there, but you may not be quite sure what it is? Is your intuition telling you that you need to be moving now, but you're not quite sure where to move and how to move and what to do when you move? Are you in the process of moving now and learning and growing, and you feel like things need to keep going and you have this momentum build up, but you're not quite sure how to keep it going? What's your gut tell you? That's an American idiom of, what is it that you really think? What is it that you really feel? What's your gut? What's your intuition? What's your instinct telling you to do and to say, to learn? Then do it. A leader has character, healthy relationships, some knowledge, and is willing to continue to learn, and has a gut feeling and intuition to keep going and do things. The fifth characteristic of a leader is experiences. What have you done? What have you experienced? What have you seen? What have you learned? What have you heard? I think we all underestimate ourselves at times when it comes to our experience. We all have experiences that, if we stop and think about, mean a whole lot and can influence and impact other people. Have you met a famous person or two? Have you traveled to a different culture? Have you had a lot of different jobs and succeeded in all of them or some of them? The ones that you succeeded in, what did you learn? Not only about the job, but especially about yourself. The ones that you weren't quite as successful at, what did you learn about yourself and about your job? We all have experiences. We have all done something, no matter what. So I encourage you to take a look at your experiences. What challenges have you had? What successes? What opportunities for learning have you gone through? What can you do? What have you done? A leader pulls on those experiences, applies them. If I told you all the different types of jobs I'd have, we'd still be here for a while. Suffice it to say that I've had so many different types of jobs and so many different types of careers and so many different types of experiences that I have a lot of stories to tell. They can be boring, they can be funny, they can be sad, but they're all experiences that we can share with others. And we can share what they've experienced and learn from them as well. So, the first 5 factors of leadership. Factor number 6. After that great cup of coffee. Number 6, your past successes. What's your track record? Have you extended yourself? Have you taken a risk? Have you stepped out on a, as my mother would used to say, did you take a running leap off of a short pier into the pond? Hi, Ann. Have you pushed yourself in a way that you surprised yourself? Did you learn? Have you extended yourself and been successful? Have you extended yourself and not been quite as successful as you wanted to be or thought you could be? That goes in there as well. Finally, the last factor of leadership is your ability. What are you good at? What are you good at? Can you be a good coach? If you play soccer, can you be a good manager? Baseball team, can you be a good manager? Can you be a good trainer? Can you be someone who can help others? Sometimes the hardest thing for people to learn, well, Chris, sometimes the hardest thing for people to learn is to be a coach and not a boss. Are you capable? What's your strengths? What is it that you do well? I'm going to challenge a thought here for a second. Hi, 10 Faces. Good to have you. I'm going to challenge you with a thought here real quick. Play to your strengths. Focus on your strengths. Expand your strengths. Enhance your strengths. Do that. Do that. And I think you will be surprised at how successful and how positive your life can be. You've heard many a time people say, you need to focus on your weaknesses and build them up. Well, let me ask you this question. What happens when you focus on your weaknesses and they don't get any stronger? What does that do to you? Around the first of the new year, at least here in the States, I'm assuming in other places as well, but at least here in the States, a lot of people take and do what they call New Year's resolutions. I am going to ... in the coming year. Lose weight, gain weight, buff, in my case, grow hair. I don't think that's going to work. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to read more. I'm going to be more successful. I'm really weak in this area. I want to focus and become strong in that area. Just on and on and on and on. There's a lot of different ways and levels of those New Year's resolutions that can occur. If you start on something that you're weak at and you don't see a fast growth occurring right away, what usually happens? You start on a diet, let's say, and you want to lose 10 pounds. And you're 2 weeks into it and you've lost 1 pound. Are you going to give up? What happens if you gain a pound during that first 2 weeks instead of losing it? Saw a posting on Facebook, I'm going to steal here, that said, my New Year's resolution for 2015 was to lose 10 pounds. And now at Christmas time, I'm only 15 pounds away. Sometimes if we focus on our weaknesses, we get frustrated because we don't see the growth and the areas that we wanted to see. We focus on our weakness and success doesn't come fast, doesn't come easy. It may not come at all. I want to become a genius this year. Well, you may not be able to be one. I'm not. And so if we focus always on our weaknesses, we can easily get stuck and get muddled in the middle of whatever we are and wherever we are. Instead, I want you to focus on your strengths. I want you to decide 2 or 3 areas in your life that you're really, really strong. And expand on those. Fine-tune them. Exercise them. Work hard at those. I know, work hard is a 2 4-letter words that you probably shouldn't say in public. But work hard at them. Magnify your strengths. Decide what you are good at. If you can understand what you're good at, then you can accept positions and responsibilities. You can accept opportunities that will come your way that will play to those a lot easier. And it's easier to say no to those opportunities that play to your weaknesses. You may be afraid to say no. I mean, after all, stepping back and saying no, it can be kind of scary. Whether it's no to your boss, to a career move, maybe to that special person. But sometimes for our yes to mean anything, we have to have the ability to say no. And that goes with our ability as well. What is it that you're good at? I like giving homework assignments. So I'm going to give you two right now. And we're only halfway into it, 30 minutes. But I want you to have and work on these two homework assignments. And if you want to call in and talk about them, I'd be glad to talk with you more about the homework assignments. If you want to call in next week and talk about them, I would love that as well. Here's your homework assignments. Number one, I want you to list some of your experiences. List them. Some of your experiences that you look back on and you go, wow, that was a neat experience. For me, I've got the opportunity to meet the original Maria von Trapp, not Julie Andrews, who sang it on the movie, the real Maria von Trapp. I didn't make a good impression. A young kid, high school, so nervous and starstruck. I played one of her sons in a high school musical when I was in junior high. And all I could think of saying when I went up and saw her was, "I'm your son," which came out totally wrong. Because no, I'm not. Then I paused and she gave me this funny look and I went, "I mean, I played your son." And then she gave me this look like, "Are you sure you're all there?" Yeah, I get starstruck sometimes pretty easily. But that's an experience. It's a great story. I've also had the pleasure of meeting stand-up comics, actors, musicians. I've had the privilege of traveling to the Philippines. I love the Philippines. Australia, Canada, Mexico. Been in over 40 of the 50 United States. Those are experiences with the Grand Canyon. Experiences of being a disc jockey in a radio station, trying to do stand-up comedy yourself, going to graduate school, becoming a pastor, being a Kelly girl, back when Kelly services, temporary services, were still known for their green Kelly girls. I worked. I wasn't a Kelly girl. I haven't been through those surgeries. But the idea being that I've had those experiences that make me unique. So what experiences have made you unique? List them. Savor them. Remember them. Even go back and just kind of, that's nice, type of thing. Second homework assignment. What are you good at? What are you good at? What's your strengths? Are you a public speaker? Are you great with numbers? Do you have the ability to forecast the weather really well? Do you have the ability to make people laugh and smile? Do you sing? Do you dance? What is it that you do well? List 2 or 3 things. Now, some of you may go, I can't think of any. Nah, yes, you can. You just have to allow yourself to admit that you're good at it. When I was younger, and I still struggle with it at times, I had some low self-esteem issues. And I had a hard time saying, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. Because I felt like if as soon as I said that, then I was bragging. Even if I didn't say it to anybody else, but just to myself, I was bragging. Well, bragging is just not the right thing to be and do. Right? Well, brag on yourself. I don't want you to start posting on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever, I am really good at, and you have a list of 25 things. This is your list for you, for your eyes only, to quote the James Bond movie. For you, what are you good at? And then the third part of the homework assignment. Yep, there's 3. Look at your experience. Look at your abilities and what you're good at, your strengths, and start putting them together. What experiences play to your strengths? What experiences have increased your strength? What strengths have you had that have led you into certain experiences? See how they interact. I think you'd be surprised. I am somewhat of an extrovert, not as much as I used to be, but I am an extrovert. And looking back, I can see because of being an extrovert, I've been able to experience and meet people and see things that I wouldn't have normally been able to do. I'm from the Midwest of the United States, small town boy, and I mean small town boy. Yet the things I've been able to experience and do far beyond what a small town boy should ever expect. I know people that have never moved out of their hometown. I've known people that never have traveled outside of their county or region, their parish. I've been blessed and I've been able to. And those experiences have played into my strengths, and my strengths have allowed those experiences to occur. So take the time to figure out what those experiences have been, what your strengths are, and then tie those together. I'd love to talk to you about that. I'd love to have you come on into the open seat. Let's see what's available. I don't want to lock the seat. Still learning my blab, but that's what makes it fun. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about what it means to be a leader and to influence others, jump on, shoot me a message. 10 Faces did. I said hi back. Glad to have you on. Influencing is not being sneaky. We'll talk about that for just a little bit. If you're influencing someone, hello, Ralph, glad to have you on. If you're influencing someone, that doesn't mean you're being underhanded and subtle and sneaky. Influence is just being who you are, touching others with leadership, helping them to become more. And that's why I talked about at the very beginning of being a positive leader versus a negative leader. Both of them can be leaders. Both of them can drive influence on people. But one of them builds the other person up, while being a negative leader only builds yourself up. If the only way you can become tall is by cutting everybody else down, then you're not all that tall. You may only be 3 feet tall, but if everybody around you, you keep it 2.5 feet tall, you may feel like you're the biggest person in the room, and technically you probably are. But at 3 feet, when you could be a 10-foot or a redwood or something huge, you're not all that tall. A positive leader, like we talked about last week, of blowing your top, raising your lid, always learning and growing and becoming more and more. A positive leader always lifts others up. Ralph, you are correct. A true leader is not the one who creates the most followers, but the one who creates the most leaders. A positive leader will help others reach their potential, strive for their potential, strive to play to the strengths of their abilities, improve their character, improve their relationships, help them learn, help them know what their gut's telling them, help them to experience new things, help them to start off on different ways of being successful, which ultimately, like Ralph said, then creates other leaders. If you're not creating other leaders, then you're not being a true leader. If you're not influencing someone else to be better, then you're not being a true positive leader. We can all look at negative leaders. And I don't want to focus on that. Those are easy to find. You may or may not know one personally. You may just know them through history or through society at large. But it's the positive leaders. It's the ones that build you that you want to emulate. And then that goes back to the second factor of leadership, your relationships. Who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, like I mentioned, take a look at the 5 closest people in your life. You're either 1, the average of all 5, and 2, you're the sum of them. You're no better than them. You're just average. Are you happy with that? Or do you want more? A true leader, a positive leader, always pushes themselves to be more, to do more, to see more, to experience more, to learn more, to try more, and ultimately to be more. To be more. That's what it's about. I'm enjoying this. Good point there. Good point. I'm going to type it. I don't know if you should type when you're on Blab, but I'm going to do it anyway. There we go. So, thank goodness for coffee. A coffee a day, well, coffee pot or 2 a day keeps the cold away. Yes, I'm an ambidextrous drinker. I can drink out of either hand. I can eat with either hand too, because when I get hungry enough, I can do that. So what questions do you have for me? What thoughts? If you don't agree with anything I'm saying or something I'm saying, call me on it. Let's talk about it. You may be right. Like Ralph, who gave an excellent point. An excellent point. A true leader develops other leaders. How many people do you know don't do that? Welcome, Aaron. Glad to have you on board with us here, talking about leadership. And thanks for being here. And the factors of leadership and what it means to be a leader and how do you influence and what does that look like? Mentioned a little bit ago, and I kind of want to circle back to it if you don't mind, on being subtle and what influencing really is. I don't want to equate influence with being underhanded. I don't want to equate leadership or influence with, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to come to me. I had it in my mind, and then, like my hair, I lost it. The idea being is that influence is as an example and as an encourager and as a coach. A good coach, if you take a sporting analogy, to me, a good coach does most of their coaching during the practice time, building to their strengths. What's the team good at? Then let's focus on what they're good at and allow that to help us win games. What are they weak at? Okay, well, we will look at it, but let's also look at ways that we can compensate with our strengths about what they're doing. A coach does that. The hardest work for the coach is during the practice time. For a leader, the hardest time, the most work to develop other leaders is during that practice time. But I submit to you where in a sporting event or a sports team situation, you actually have set aside practice time. I would say that as a leader, it's your example that becomes that practice time. Welcome, Ralph. Nice meeting you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You make a good point about the sports team, the coach. Not every football player should be the quarterback. not every football player should be the running back.
Yep.
The comment I said, influence or inspire. I think a true leader sees the quality in others and helps bring that person to shine and do their best in the area that they're good at. So going back to the say football analogy, somebody's got a good arm, but they may be slower than an ace of spades. You don't want that guy as a running back,
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess a good leader to me, as I said, is not the one who has the most followers, where people just blindly follow someone. A lot of times I don't call those leaders. I call those bosses.
Agreed.
Somebody that dictates to you, you go here, you do this, and you do this in this amount of time. But a leader is somebody who inspires somebody and helps them shine and be the best, sees those qualities within somebody else and rises them up. And even if a good leader, even if they rise someone up to outperform their abilities, for example, in a workplace, or everybody's so egotistic trying to fight for the top. And I think that's sometimes what our society wants to be a leader, but they really don't want to be a leader. They want to be a dictator. So a true leader is, for example, as a parent, as a grandpa, to help my kids encourage their growth to bring it up to the next level. You talk about, the people you're around. Les Brown says we earn within a few percent of what our closest friends earn. If we go out for a walk, we often will slow down to the pace of the person we're walking with, or the other person has to slow down to our pace, whichever it might be. And that's why it's so important to surround yourselves with good leaders, someone that is not afraid to be outdone, someone who's not afraid to have someone outshine them, because when you really think about it, what a great outcome of life when you can inspire someone or find that talent in someone to go a step above you. Tony Robbins talks about, if you find yourself a good coach, you'll get poor results. If you find yourself a great coach, you'll get good results. If you find yourself an excellent coach, you'll get great results. But if you find yourself an outstanding coach, you'll get excellent results. So it's really tough to arise above what you've learned, what your teacher or your leader has become in most cases. But because of that inspiration, sometimes there are people who are the true leaders will rise above that and create more leaders.
One little part there, I would kind of disagree. I think as a leader, you can never bring someone above your own level. If you're, let's say, an excellent coach, then the people you coach will only be good. Mm-hmm. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 5, your people will never get above a 4, because how can you get them above where you've never experienced? So the secret then becomes, as someone who wants to learn, you need to find that leader who's at a couple levels above you to grow up to them. But as a leader, someone yourself, then that means you have to continually learn. You have to continually grow. And you have to find your coach or leader above you, not someone with you. And I think that goes to your point about who you hang around with. If you hang around with people at your same level or below you, then you're not going to go any farther. But if you find people above you in the sense of know more, experience more, play better strengths to your, better skill sets or whatever, then you're going to grow. But I do want to throw a question at you. And I love your comment, Ralph. Thanks for jumping in here. Do you see a difference between influencing and inspiring? Or because you said that on your question, influence or inspire. Do you really see a difference between the two, or are they two sides of the same coin?
I feel they're very, very closely related. Influence to me would be more awing someone to appreciate that person's talent. Inspiring to me would be the next level up, would be somebody who influenced me to become the best I can become. And that's why I said before, rarely, but sometimes if you're inspired, you're going to go out, and if a coach sees something, if let's say a little league coach sees a young man, a young boy out there who has a really great arm, they can influence them, or I take it up a step, inspire them to practice, and practice to hone in that skill. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense? So to me, inspiring is taking the influence up to the next level. You influence someone, but when you inspire someone, you stir something. If I'm influenced by what you say, I'm like, wow, that's cool. But if I'm inspired, that's going to raise me up, to another level, higher level than influence. That's my opinion.
I would agree with you. I agree with you. There's a fine difference between the two. I agree with you on that. Where I would probably say they're more similar, because you can be influenced by an individual, but as you watch them, then that's inspiration comes in. Oh, they did this, I can do this. And you're right. I think the difference between the two is one's more of a deep felt emotion that causes a drive, but they both can be done by the same person. Does that make sense? Am I making sense on that? I think sometimes we look at people and say, wow, they're really inspirational. Well, they may speak very inspirationally, but what type of influence do they have on you? Are they inspirational in the sense of, wow, I feel good now, I can go home and forget about my diet and have that chocolate cake, and I feel much better about myself that way? Or does it, are they an influence that takes it and becomes more than just a, wow, that's nice, to a application base? Does that make sense?
Yes. Comment, inspire to take action, and that's another way of putting it. I can be influenced by what you say, but when I'm inspired, I've got that fire in me. I want to get it out. I want to do the best I can be. Do the best that I can. Another question: might the student also become the teacher in some aspects of inspiring the coach to another level to keep on pace with the athlete? I find leaders, all over. I see leadership in children or kids in school. Sometimes those kids will inspire a teacher to want to do another program, to elevate their expertise to another level, to influence and inspire other students to take it up another notch. That's, I come from a small community who has a very successful high school coaching program, and the coach is very inspirational. He continually brings the best out in the players, and it seems like each year, because of his inspiration, there's a lot of players that become really true leaders. And as a true leader, sometimes you step back and you recognize that ability. You get that quarterback on the field as the leader of that team, and sometimes you give that quarterback the ability to call some plays. You might, call a timeout to say, hey, and put your arm around him, give him that reassurance. What do you see out there that you think would work the best? And take that leader and give that person the ownership of that game. And the coach is still inspiring, is still directing, or maybe influencing throughout the game, but because of the inspiration that he's instilled in the team, they move up to a higher level and higher level.
I would agree with you on that. I would also take it a step back, and Aaron's joining us, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what he was thinking. But one of the things I would say is his question about can the student or the athlete.
Oh yeah. Hey Ralph, what's up? Hey Richard.
How's it going?
Good to meet you, Richard. I think that so I only heard part of
become a teacher.
What you were trying to ask, I guess, about the student becomes the teacher, or even the student becomes the master at times. For various things. Obviously, in the technological age, a lot of times it is that younger generation, those students that are teaching the older generations about the technology. So in essence, I've become a technology coach to a lot of people that have given me other, say, for instance, my fitness coach, full-time fitness trainer. I've done some consults for him on his internet and his web business and stuff, and he's given me consults as far as training. Even though he's more experienced in the one field, I'm more experienced in the other. And, especially with the organic relationships on digital networks these days.
Mm-hmm. I agree totally with that comment. That, yes, the student can become the teacher when a good leader, and that's what, going back to what I said earlier, a good leader is one who creates more leaders. So when a coach recognizes a talent, as a metaphor here, and that student takes action and goes out and hones in on his skills, oftentimes those skills would be way above what the leader's skills are as a quarterback. And then that student could be and should be a teacher to other students to bring them up to that level. So here you get to the playoffs and the quarterback gets knocked out of the game for whatever reason. A good leader, creates more leaders, and therefore another quarterback can step in and move on from right where you were, and together have the great outcome. Looks like we lost our host.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I'm sure he'll get in, but yeah, that's kind of, and I already know you, Ralph. I've seen you in the Mindset Coffee thing with Charlene in the mornings, and I like the way that you're kind of, even though you don't have the client relationship that she sometimes has with people, you bring in that perspective. I always like that, because sometimes me and you see the same things but have a totally opposite perspective, and by the time we talk it out, we're like, oh, that's kind of exactly the same thing, because I'm coming from the world and you're coming from the sports world.
Yeah, and it doesn't make either one right or wrong. It's just the perspective, the angle. If we all went to a party, an event, whatever, and we were required to keep a camera in front of us and just take snapshots of that event, we would all see a different event, because, at that event, we might see some kids playing and having a great time. And we would snap images in our mind of a fun event. At that same event, you could, as we were talking about the football games, you could have a couple parents in a disagreement and getting into a heated argument. And so therefore that person's perspective of the event might be, this was really, really intense. And you could have somebody else at the event that doesn't appreciate football and is just sitting there with their, hands in their
Well, I'm back.
hands, being
Anybody else here?
just bored. There's different perspectives on everything. So it's always good to see the other perspective, because reality is only what's real to us.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, I take it you're a little bit new to the Blab, Richard?
I sure am.
To the Blab platform? Yeah.
Yeah, froze up on me. I didn't stop recording, but I finally had to log off and come back on. So,
Yeah.
hi, Aaron.
How you doing? I'm just trying to get a little workout going. That's why, because I was actually standing up doing my knee legs. I got a minor scoliosis, so I'm constantly battling fatigue and pain, and found that a regular workout once or twice a day really helps.
Good.
I did my first Blab last Saturday morning. And yes, it's different being the host versus just jumping in the seat. It's totally different.
Oh, there's a social dynamic in each group that's very. I've been kind of, with my degree and my interest in social media and social networks, I kind of look at things a little bit different.
Yeah, there is a different dynamic. This is my second one. Mine was last Friday, so I think my computer's not used to having so much fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I got shoulder problems and neck problems. I gotta get out of here in about 30 minutes, and another 15 minutes to do my high knees and my leg kicks. But yeah, the reason I jumped in, Richard, is because I do know Ralph, so I kind of felt a little bit comfortable, I could come in and talk to Ralph like he kind of knows me, and that, on your profile and Ralph's profile, the public speaking aspect of coaching, those are some of the areas that I've been really focused on building up my skill sets to add into my existing corporate teamwork, business leadership skill sets, of course.
I don't consider myself a coach. However, different programs that I've been on, people have reached out to me and they asked me, I need some of that Ralphism.
Everybody needs Ralphisms.
And I am happy to say that the people that I don't call it coaching. I just kind of give them some of my insights or my opinions, what I found to work good for me, to take my life and change it around to become the person that I want to become, had influenced, had others inspired them. I had a nephew that was messing with marijuana. And fortunately, that's a thing of the past. And I've had some other people who had been struggling with family issues, others with work issues, and just had them ask different questions, to get around where they were. And that's going back to what I said. Being a true leader is the one that, creates the most leaders. And it's not, if I can be at this level and I can do something or inspire someone to go out and start focusing on self-development and self-improvement, then there's material out there that can rise them up to a much higher level. I have been influenced by different people, and it's encouraged me to listen to Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, and I'm not saying I'm a guru. However, the opportunities I have to go out and speak, I know the feedback I get from sometimes months and a year or more later is very, very positive feedback. And not only, it's humbling to me to see someone turn around just because of a few words that I said. And that's where the influence and the aspire to me is different. I can influence someone.
Yes. Well, that's kind of one of my theories too, is, like you're touching on with the quarterback and the coach and that relationship, and kind of some of the studies I've been going into recently about, like pro football, they have a defensive coach, an offensive coach, the head coach, and how the defensive leader, and then if that relates to my business knowledge about a lot of times even in group settings where it might be the new guy that just brings a fresh aspect. Mm-hmm. It might be the low man on the totem pole that has a certain emotional energy. And by that hard work and dedication at the lowest level, pushes up from the bottom in a sense. The lead by following theory of leadership kind of ties in there too. To where by following what the group is doing, by connecting with them on an emotional level and giving it your all at what you're doing, you don't have to be the head engineer or the lead installer or the lead, the super on the construction site, but by being the nail bucket carrying guy that does it with vigor and intensity and enthusiasm can spread. I kind of know this because of my personal profile, personality type, to where I'll go into groups and just my dynamic nature, my effort, or whatever it is, carries through. I've been told by many people, you just bottle what you got there, Aaron. You could be a millionaire.
In my part of the world, they call that moonshine, but we won't go there right now. But I think there's some truth in that. I look at it, I'm not comfortable with the concept leading from behind, because that implies, you're not really leading. You're just trying to steer.
Not lead from behind, lead by following. In a sense, okay. Steer a ship. You need a rudder. You need a captain at the helm with the wheel, who's the captain, and the lowly rudder. Just that little one plank of wood on the ship.
Yeah, and you make such a good point. In one of Tony Robbins' events, he talked about the half a degree difference, just the half a degree. You look at a golf player, for example, Tiger Woods, who drives that ball 250 yards. And, it's always nice when it's not down in the fairway and you go, oh, what a good shot. But, when you go 250 yards and his club approach is just a half a degree off, look at the difference. So the point being, the difference of someone who is way up high on what you would call the rung of the ladder, and the person on the first step, society shows that there's a great gap, and there isn't that great of a gap. It's just that
Yeah,
half of the
Ralph, I have to take it back to my pirate ship analogy with our current project. Is they put the youngest guy up on the crow's nest, right? Because he's easier to climb. He's the smallest guy, can't pull the rope. He climbs up, gets strong, of course. But he has to directly communicate to the captain.
Yes.
He has to he's that direct link to the crow's nest. So you can analyze, put any analogy upon it. The bottom line is that there is a direct relationship from the least being the greatest, needing to facilitate the least. I mean, I don't know where that principle came from, Richard or Ralph, but I've used it in my life and it has never failed.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, again, my background's I'm a person of faith, so I would go to New Testament where Jesus says, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." I mean,
It never fails, man.
I'll give him the credit, but if you want to, co-sign that credit,
I don't know where I heard it from. Maybe it was the Bible. I've read that before a couple times.
Yeah, but I think there's some truth in that. But I also think too, however, that someone who desires to be a leader in a situation, they have to keep focusing on growing themselves as well.
Yes, sir.
I think at times leaders can very easily just kind of sit back and say, "Hey, this ship's going in the right direction. Let's coast for a while. Let's cruise." And, the analogy that always comes to my mind is that, you can coast a car downhill, and depending on the size of the hill, it can go quite a ways, but eventually it's going to stop.
Yep.
And you just need to keep that growth going. You need to keep that growth continuing to be able to lead others and influence others, whether it's the least or the person right beside you or wherever. If you're not growing, then ultimately you've reached the end of your rope.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And like Ralph was stating, you inspire people to action, which is basically the greatest. If you can't inspire someone to action, how can you influence other than control and power and threats and fear?
Yeah, and I would say that's not influence. That's just management and game.
Well, I always say it's entice them with the carrot or crack them with the whip. You're going to get the cart going one way or another. Sometimes you can't beat a dead horse, so sometimes you do got to get a new horse. But most of the times you can inspire people by either the carrot or the whip.
And I guess there's another question on leadership. Why do you want to be a leader? Or
very good point.
Why do you want to be a leader? Because I find myself not necessarily going out and seeking leadership. And I need to run off here because I got a Habitat for Humanity meeting because I'm president, and I enjoy giving back because I'm so blessed. And here I find myself, it seems like every committee that I get on, I'm brought up to the president ranks.
Yeah.
And it's not that I ask for them. And a lot of times I just like, but at the same time, my question is, why do some people become leaders? Mm-hmm. It's to me, it's not, I'm not doing this for my ego. In fact, it wouldn't bother me at all if someone else would take the role.
I'll tell you why. Because I've also been thrust into those things where 3 months after I start a job, I'm some kind of manager. 3 months later, I'm some kind of, semi-boss. Or they move me out to some other area to be the boss there. Because not a lot of people are willing to take accountability for themselves. And that, I think, is one of the key things that a leadership should be able to influence or inspire others to do, is to take accountability for themselves, with or without the team, with or without the coach, so that they can become at least a leader of themselves before they reach any type of group.
And let's be honest, if we were all looking in the mirror and really being honest with ourselves, because I find myself like you, Ralph, like you, Aaron, kind of in the same background, same situations. It's when it's the hardest to lead ourselves than it is to lead anyone else. And the times that I feel least qualified to lead are the times I realize that I've really dropped the ball in some area of my own life. Does that make sense? And I think people sometimes would rather live in that, well, I'm not perfect, so why should I, I'm not going to step out and do this, instead of focusing life as a process and a growth process and something to move forward with. They just get stuck on, here's where I'm at now, here's where I'll always be, so let's just leave it alone and let somebody else do it.
And that's my take on the leader, lead by example. You can spin it any other ways. It's that when it doesn't matter what position I'm brought into a company, on the corporate world, when I go to a job, I'm there. I'm here for the boss. I'm going to do the best. I'm not like, I don't want to do that job. I can't, I'm like, is that what you want me to do? Let me see if I can do it. Oh, I can't do it. I didn't do it right. I'm just like, I'm there for you. And that, even though I'm not the leader, I'm not the director, I'm not the manager, I'm the new guy. I'm the new tech one. Other people see it. They see that I'm jumping into their project because I have a little free time instead of just pulling up a video and going, I got 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, that big project. Let me see if I can get a little chunk and do 20 minutes worth of help. And then all of a sudden he's doing that for him and she's doing that for them. And the director comes to me and goes, I don't want to lose you. Next thing you know, 6 months later, I'm level 2, level 3, whatever.
Yeah, and I guess my mindset is I go out when I get involved in an organization. This may not sound, it's probably not the right way to say it.
I'll tell you if it's not.
Like as president of Habitat for Humanity, when something doesn't go quite the way one might envision, I go, well, fire me. And I guess, and I say that, just fire me, not with the intent of, I don't want to fulfill my obligation and fulfill the role as the president. It's that I'm not afraid to screw up. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm going to do the best I can, and the heck with everything else. I find the people who complain the most are the ones that are contributing the least. So I've just gotten to that mindset. I'm going to do the best I can be. That's just my nature. But I don't worry. I don't lose any sleep about if I mess up. If I forget to do a report or forget to do this or forget to do that, I try to organize my stuff so I don't. But I'm human.
Yeah.
If there's something that doesn't get done, then so be it. Fire me.
I'll even take that a step further because I was involved in a nonprofit in a leadership role just up until about 2 weeks ago. And I stepped down, A, because I felt it was way overdue, and B, I didn't like the direction that the higher ups were going with it, and C, business allowed me to do it. So, hey, there's my good excuse, But usually when you find, like you said, people that do the least complain the most, you'll also find people will accuse and complain and want to do things or think you're doing things that in reality they would do if they were in charge. And so they would automatically assume because they would do it, you're doing it. And because they would be the ones wanting to get more power, then obviously you're wanting more power. They project upon you, what they themselves are in reality themselves are like. Am I making sense there?
The political aspect of the national corporation. I got really deep into a personal study on that.
Guys, I hate to run, but I do have to run. You guys have an outstanding day.
Hey, I got a people's housing in 1989, so keep doing what you're doing, man.
Life is outstanding.
Thank you, Ralph. It was a pleasure meeting you. And I'm going to have to go in a little bit too, but go ahead and make your point there, and I like you're going there.
It's like, just like you were saying, that's one of the corporate policies. I was lucky enough to be in a company that was like, the first thing you want to do is learn your job, learn it well. The second thing you want to do is learn your next job. The third thing you want to do is train your replacement.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. So
And then when you got your replacement, boom, you're in the next job.
that's right. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, because you should be always hiring and finding people to replace you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, well, I do need to run, so I hate to cut this short, but I will make sure I'm following you.
Yeah, I followed you. Definitely. Thanks a lot, Richard. Hope to
Thank you,
talk with
Chris.
you soon. Again, on this
Yeah,
same
look forward
topic
to
of public speaking and coaching.
That's what it's all about.
All right.
Take care of yourself now. Thanks a lot, Aaron. And for everyone else, I want to say thank you for being on, and I look forward to seeing you soon next week. Bye. Be a leader.